All right, my friends, welcome back to All Cars. I'm John. Today it is time for another reaction video to a Motorweek Retro Review, and this week I have chosen the 2002 Ford Focus SVT. Now, the reason I chose this car is twofold. First off, hot hatch. Come on, I got to check it out. But number two is I had a Focus of this generation, and don't get excited. The one I had was a four-door sedan with a base engine and an automatic. Yeah. And that car was most memorable for being memorably forgettable. Honestly, I was talking to somebody yesterday. I might be reviewing one of his cars in the next couple of weeks. And he and I were talking about car histories, and I totally forgot I owned one of these. And it was a pretty good car, right up until it wasn't. It just, a bunch of things all started to go wrong at the same time. And I like this generation of Focus. I really do. It was a great attempt by Ford to do something a little bit different than chase the Japanese. It had a little more styling outside, a little more styling inside, and kind of a narrow but tall body. It felt like it had a ton of space. But they missed it by that much of really making a home run, honestly. It didn't feel flimsy, but it never felt substantial, right? It never had that built of one piece of metal and carved out of an ingot of iron, that solidity. It felt thinner, honestly. And it never quite felt frail, but I don't know. I just think they missed the boat a little bit, and then the bean counters got a hold of the interior and really cheapened it up. But ergonomically, space-wise, ride, it was a great car, and these hot hatch versions, the hopped up ones, were really cool. I'm kind of excited to see what Motorweek says about it when it was brand spanking new. So grab your coffee. Let's sit back and see what they say.
Motorweek is made possible by Lucas Oil, TireRack.com, and RockAuto.com.
In the 2 short years since it was introduced, the Ford Focus has become very popular, especially with younger buyers. But like most small cars, high performance takes a backseat to interior room and economy. But the fact is, many owners are willing to spend thousands to soup up these economy stalwarts. That's why Ford's special vehicle team decided to inject their own healthy dose of testosterone into the Focus.
All right, so let's talk about the exterior styling really quick. I think this is a really good looking car. It never quite rose to the level of wow for me. But in a world of Toyotas and Hondas, and this came out, it at least felt like they were taking it seriously. And again, I think they looked at it a little bit different to give it a little bit more height and a little bit more space inside. But I really like it. It just isn't quite classic. It just isn't quite wow. The angles on the headlights, the little bit of an arc there on the grill, just never quite worked for me. But if you assume this was aimed for a more frugal and younger audience, it has a lot of appeal. I thought the four-door sedan was pretty good looking. I've always liked the hatchback. Never quite as refined looking as, say, a Golf, but super cool. I always wanted a four-door hatchback version of this, though. I didn't ever want the two-door, which is why I ended up with the sedan. But I think it's a pretty good looking car, and for its age, for its era, I thought it was one of the best looking small cars at the time.
So let's see how much sharper the Focus can get. To give the 2002 Ford Focus SVT precise clarity, Ford's special vehicle team made substantial changes to this popular 3-door econobox, the most significant of which are in the 2-liter dual overhead cam 4-cylinder engine, Starting with the standard Z-Tech, SVT added new just about everything, including head, pistons, rods, flywheel, tuned headers, plus a dual-stage intake manifold and variable cam timing for the intake valves to really boost low-end grunt. The revamped engine now makes 170 horsepower and 145 pound-feet of torque.
That's pretty good. I mean, that was a lot of work to take the Z-Tech and do all this to it. Variable valve timing, things like that. But not put a turbo on it. Very interesting. But pretty decent power. I mean, that's not eye-watering numbers, but this was over, right at 20 years ago. And, well, let's face it, it didn't have a lot of car to haul around.
That's a big jump over the standard 130 horses. The transmission is a Getrag 6-speed manual. Tight and positive, it's a huge improvement over the standard car's nice but rubbery 5-speed. Suspension changes consist of stiffer springs, a thicker front anti-roll bar, and revalve shocks to control roll and impact harshness. While the brakes are larger, standard 4-wheel disc, the only all-disc Focus sold here, with 4-channel ABS. The wheels are 17-inch alloys wearing ZR-rated 215/45 Continental tires. What does it all mean? It means a 0 to 60 time of 6.9 seconds and a best quarter-mile run of 15.4 seconds at 92 miles per hour.
That's not bad. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, that'd be pretty competitive today, as a matter of fact, for a small economy hot hatch. That's not bad.
Over 2 seconds quicker than the standard Focus. Power is still concentrated in the upper rev band, but the bottom end is much stronger. Clutch feel, however, is very vague. The real improvement is in the handling, as we found out on Georgia's challenging Roebling Road Raceway. With its new underpinnings, the SVT feels much tighter with substantially less front-end push. There's also less body roll, and while steering feel is not quite up to Cobra R standards, that too is much improved. Keep the revs up and the Focus SVT pulls strongly off the corners and powers down the straights with a sweet muscular exhaust note. And when you get to a corner, the brakes are strong and fade-free. Stops from 60 average 119 feet with excellent control even from triple-digit speeds. Indeed, this is one very sharp Focus to drive. And sharp to look at as well. The Focus SVT has received a number of subtle cosmetic tweaks both inside and out. Exterior changes include a deep front fascia with SVT's honeycomb grille and smoked headlight lenses, racier side rocker panels, and a sharp little spoiler on the rear hatch. Inside, the SVT gets black leather trimmed seats with deep side bolsters that really keep you in place. The pedals are more tightly spaced than standard and wear racy metal covers, while the instrument cluster features electroluminescent gauges with oil temperature and pressure fitted to the right of the main cluster.
So I'm sorry I missed pausing it there. The dashboard to me was always one of the biggest letdowns of this car. Is number one, I like symmetry and I like squares. All right, guys, honestly. So having the bottom of where the HVAC and the radio is over here, having it kind of rounded off and then having a diagonal across the top of it absolutely drove me up the wall. But it functioned, the ergonomics was pretty good. It worked pretty well. Once you got used to everything, it worked absolutely flawlessly. I just never got over why couldn't they just do something? But they were aiming for a younger crowd. They were aiming for something that was a little more funky. It certainly went with the exterior styling. And so kudos to the interior designers for doing something a little bit different and pulling it off. But they were let down by the quality of the materials. He kind of skimmed over it right there, but the plastic on the dashboard at the doors of the Focus, certainly the more base level ones, was atrocious. It was really, really poor, and an awful lot of it. There was no attempt to spice it up or try to even make it look upscale. The good news is the one I had was beige, so at least it was light and bright. It wasn't all dark. I do like that they made the instruments here much more informative. I want to say the one I had like a speedometer, a gas gauge, and maybe oil. I don't know. It was a really basic cluster. So I like what they're saying here. A lot of good things about this car. Let's finish it up.
It's sleek and stylish, yet retains all the room, comfort, and efficiency of the standard Focus. And what does all this style and performance cost? Well, the base price for the Focus SVT is only $17,995. Add the optional audio system, power sunroof, and winter package, which includes traction control and heated seats, and the price maxes out at a still bargain $19,660. So the 2002 Ford Focus SVT offers Ford buyers all the high performance they want in a compact car without having to build it in themselves. It's a leaner, meaner, sharper Focus, one that allows you to focus on serious driving fun.
Love to go drive one of those. Ford has done small hot hatches really well for a long time, and this was a really good attempt. And I know I've watched some European shows where they talk about the different versions of Fords that are coming out, and they add anti-slip differentials and things like that. And I think my overall opinion is they always tend to be a little more raw than, say, the GTI, for example, which is much more refined power, even if capable, more refined. And I would love to drive one of these because a 20-year-old car, 170 horsepower, not blistering performance, but compared to certainly all the SUVs we've got all over the highways these days, and the heft of where the Golf has gone, think of how light this feels in your hands with 170 horsepower. Love to drive one. Great exterior styling, interior is acceptable, lots of space. Like they said, all the benefits of the base level car, but just better in almost every single way. Love to have a chance to drive one of these. I don't know I'd want to drive one on a daily basis. They didn't say anything about the ride being too harsh, like if you think about commuting in it or going to get your groceries. I would love the hatch. I think I'd get a little tired of it pretty quickly. But let me know what you think. And if you had one of these, I'd love to know how it held up. My Focus made it to, I don't remember, 70 or 100,000 miles, something like that. And then a bunch of things started to go wrong, and they were all expensive. And these early generations of the Focus, I don't have a ton of respect for them for their durability. So I'd like to know some positive stories from you. Appreciate you being here, guys.